Creepy crawlers. The night was quiet in the small town of Brook Hollow, too quiet for a summer evening. Crickets should have been singing, moths should have been fluttering against the street lamps. But tonight, the air hung still, as though waiting for something. Inside an old house at the edge of town, a boy named Daniel sat by the window, staring at the woods. His lamp flickered, and in its dim light he saw movement. Not the shuffle of leaves, not the sway of branches, but crawling. Hundreds of tiny legs shifting together in the dirt, moving in unnatural patterns, like a tide of insects flowing from the shadows. He shivered, pressing the curtain closed. But when he turned back, a beetle was already on his desk, its shell glistening black, its antennae twitching. Daniel leaned closer. The beetle's mandibles clicked. Then another appeared. And another. Within seconds, the surface of the desk seemed alive, covered in crawling bodies. He stumbled back, heart hammering, but the bugs didn't follow. They only turned in unison and scuttled into the cracks of the floorboards, vanishing as though they'd never been there. Sleep was impossible. That night, he heard scratching inside the walls, the faint buzz of wings, and the sound of something gnawing, chewing. By morning, his bedroom floor was littered with dead flies, though he had never opened the window. The town soon began to notice. At first it was small things, webs appearing overnight on door handles, centipedes curled in sinks, ants swarming in patterns on kitchen floors. But then came the stories. A woman claimed she awoke to find her bedsheets rippling with movement, thousands of tiny legs crawling just beneath the fabric. A farmer swore his cattle were covered in spiders at dawn, their bodies drained pale before the sun rose. Children whispered that if you left your shoes by the door, something would crawl inside, waiting for the warmth of your foot. One by one, people began leaving town. But Daniel stayed. Something drew him deeper, like a thread pulling him into the forest at night. He carried a lantern and followed the sound, a low chittering, a hum that seemed to come from beneath the ground. The deeper he went, the stronger it grew, until the forest floor itself seemed to move. He found a clearing, and in its center, an old stone well. From its mouth poured beetles, spiders, worms, crawling over one another in endless waves. The air was thick with their sound, the clicking of mandibles, the hiss of legs. Daniel stared, frozen, as they began to form shapes. First a circle, then a spiral, and finally letters. The insects spelled a word on the ground, welcome. He wanted to run, but his feet betrayed him. The swarm parted like a curtain, revealing a tunnel in the earth. Something glowed faintly below. Against every instinct, he descended. The walls pulsed with worms, spiders dropped from above, centipedes curled like living veins. At the bottom, he found a chamber. It was not empty. A throne of bone and dirt rose in the center, and on it sat something almost human, but not. Its body was woven from insects, its arms shifting with beetles, its hair writhing with worms. Where its face should have been, hundreds of tiny eyes blinked in unison. The swarm creature raised its hand, and silence fell. Daniel's lantern sputtered. The thing spoke, its voice a chorus of hisses and clicks. "We have waited. You hear us. You are chosen." The ground shook. The walls erupted as millions of insects poured into the chamber, crawling over Daniel, wrapping around his arms and legs. He tried to scream, but the bugs forced their way into his mouth, his ears, his eyes. The swarm buried him, suffocating, pulling him down into the earth. The next morning, Daniel's house was empty. But neighbors said they saw him walking near the edge of town, his eyes wide and glassy, his movements stiff. Wherever he stepped, beetles followed. Wherever he sat, spiders nested. People whispered he was no longer Daniel, but something else, a herald of the crawlers. Brook Hollow was abandoned within weeks. Houses stood hollow, their windows broken, their walls filled with the scratching of unseen legs. The forest swallowed the town, and the well remained. On certain nights, when the moon was low and the air was heavy, travelers claimed to hear it, the hum of insects rising from the earth, like a voice calling out. And if you listened too long, you would see them too. The creepy crawlers, waiting, watching, hungry for a new host. And if you dare lift a lantern in those woods, you may see the word they spell in the dirt again. Welcome.